In the small, quiet town of Porthcurno, nestled along Cornwall's rugged coastline, Emma Thompson lived a life defined by struggle and hope. The sea winds whispered stories of possibility, but Emma's world was narrow. A tiny cottage, a stack of unpaid bills, and memories of her mother's endless sacrifices. At 24, Emma had known hardship since childhood. Her mother, Margaret, had worked multiple jobs to keep food on the table after her father disappeared years ago. Emma had watched her mother's hands, rough from cleaning, cooking, and working in the local fish market, always moving, always fighting. The morning the letter arrived was ordinary in every way. Grey clouds hung low and a soft drizzle tapped against the window. Emma's fingers trembled as she opened the envelope, her heart racing with a mixture of fear and anticipation. The paper inside was crisp, official-looking, with a London postmark. Her eyes scanned the words, reading them twice, then 3 times. A distant relative, her mother's cousin Richard, worked as a senior researcher at a prestigious London institute. He had heard about her recent job loss and was offering her a position as a research assistant. The salary wasn't high, but it was more than she had ever earned. Margaret sat across the kitchen table, her weathered hands wrapped around a chipped teacup. "London," she whispered, a mix of pride and worry in her voice. "It's a big step, my darling." Emma knew what this meant. It was more than a job. It was an escape from the cycle of poverty that had trapped generations of her family. The small, coastal town had been her entire world. Limited opportunities, constant financial stress, and dreams that seemed impossible. Her bedroom was a testament to her aspirations, bookshelves lined with borrowed library books, notebooks filled with scribbled ideas, and a wall covered with newspaper clippings about scientific discoveries. She had always been curious, always wanted to learn, but opportunities had been scarce. Packing was simple. Emma didn't own much. A few practical clothes, her treasured books, a photograph of her parents from happier times, and a small box of memories. Each item told a story of survival, of hope against overwhelming odds. The local community noticed her preparation. Mrs. Roberts from the corner shop wished her luck. Old fishermen at the harbour nodded respectfully. They understood what it meant to chase a dream beyond the familiar boundaries. Her mother helped her prepare, teaching her practical lessons. "Watch your spending," Margaret advised. "London can be expensive. Be careful with your money, save where you can." She packed homemade sandwiches and a thermos of tea, practical gifts from a practical woman who understood survival. The night before her departure, Emma couldn't sleep. Excitement and fear danced in her mind. Would she fit into this new world? Could she truly escape the limitations of her past? The sounds of waves outside her window seemed to whisper encouragement. Her small suitcase sat ready by the door, a symbol of transformation. Inside were her hopes, her dreams, carefully folded alongside practical clothing. She thought about the research position, about the possibility of learning, of growing, of becoming something more than her current circumstances allowed. Margaret hugged her tightly that morning. No grand speeches, no dramatic declarations. Just a quiet, powerful embrace that spoke of unconditional love and support. "You are stronger than you know," she whispered. The local bus would take her to the train station. From there, a journey to London, a city that seemed as distant and magical as another world. Emma felt both terrified and excited, a mixture of emotions that made her heart race. As she stepped out of the cottage, the sea wind caught her hair. It felt like a blessing, like the town itself was sending her off with its blessing. The grey. Morning seemed to hold promise, possibility lurking behind the clouds. Her journey was about to begin. One letter, one opportunity, a chance to reshape her entire future. The small suitcase in her hand was light, but it carried the weight of generations of hope. The train journey felt like entering another world. Emma watched the countryside transform through the scratched window, green fields blurring into industrial landscapes. Her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and terror. Her ticket was cheap, bought after careful saving and planning. The second-class carriage was filled with a mix of travelers, businessmen in crisp suits, students with backpacks, and elderly couples traveling quietly. Emma felt like an outsider, her second-hand coat and simple dress standing out among the more polished passengers. She clutched her mother's packed lunch, carefully wrapped sandwiches and a small thermos of tea. The familiar smell brought comfort in this strange new environment. Her hands, rough from years of hard work, trembled slightly as she checked the address of her new workplace. London approached like a giant breathing machine. Massive buildings replaced green landscapes. Smoke and noise replaced the quiet sea sounds of Cornwall. Emma had never seen so many people moving in such organized chaos. The train station was a world of its own. People rushing, announcements echoing, massive clock towers marking every passing minute. James Peterson waited at the Research Institute's entrance. A tall man in his mid-40s, with kind eyes and a professional demeanor. He represented everything Emma had never experienced: education, opportunity, a world beyond survival. His clipboard held her employment documents, her entire future, reduced to a few official papers. "Miss Thompson," he called, scanning the crowd of arriving workers. Emma stepped forward, her suitcase feeling heavier with each step. Her mouth was dry, her heart pounding. This was her moment, the chance to change everything her family had known. The Research Institute was different from anything she had imagined. Clean white corridors, people in lab coats, computers humming with complex information. Emma felt small, almost invisible. Her working-class background seemed to echo in every careful step she took. James showed her around, explaining her basic responsibilities: filing research documents, organizing data, supporting senior researchers. Each word felt like a gift, a chance to learn, to grow beyond her previous limitations. He noticed her attentiveness, the way she listened carefully to every instruction. "We don't just want workers here," James explained. "We want people who are curious, who want to understand things deeper." Those words struck Emma's heart. Curiosity had always been her secret weapon. Reading borrowed books, asking questions, wanting to understand the world beyond her small town's boundaries. Her first task seemed simple: organizing research documents about environmental changes. But to Emma, it felt like entering a magical world of knowledge. Each paper was a window into understanding something larger than herself. Lunch came quickly. The Institute's canteen was another new experience. People discussed complex scientific concepts, shared ideas, laughed together. Emma sat quietly, observing, eating her mother's carefully prepared sandwich. She felt both excited and terrified. Her small dormitory room that evening was simple but clean. A single bed, a small desk, a window overlooking a busy London street. Everything felt different: the sounds, the lights, the constant movement. Far from the quiet Cornish coast, this was a world of constant motion and possibility. She wrote a letter to her mother that night describing everything. Her hands moved carefully, sharing her excitement, her hopes, her small victories. Each word was a connection to home, a reminder of the journey she had begun. Sleep came slowly. The city's sounds were different, not the gentle sea waves, but car horns, distant conversations, the breathing of a massive urban landscape. Emma closed her eyes, dreaming of possibilities. Her mother's last words echoed in her mind: "Be brave, be curious. Never stop learning." Tomorrow would be another step in her journey, a journey from a small coastal town to a world of endless possibilities. One letter had changed everything. One opportunity had opened a door she never knew existed. The endnote, the story maintains simple language, focuses on Emma's emotional journey, and provides a vivid description of her first experiences in London. It captures her transformation, hopes, and the initial challenges of stepping into a new world. The Research Institute was nothing like Emma had imagined. Complex machines hummed with scientific precision, and brilliant minds moved like carefully choreographed dancers of knowledge. Her first real challenge arrived 3 weeks into her job, a critical filing error that threatened everything she had worked for. Emma had been sorting research documents when she accidentally mixed up 2 important scientific reports. The papers looked similar, dense with graphs, numbers, and technical language she was still learning to understand. Her heart sank when she realized her mistake. James Peterson discovered the error during a routine check. His face changed from professional calm to serious concern. Emma watched, feeling her entire world crumbling. In her mind, she could hear her mother's voice. One mistake can change everything. The research team gathered, discussing the potential consequences. Technical words flew around the room, words Emma barely understood. She stood silently, feeling like an outsider, her working-class background suddenly feeling like a massive weight. "These reports are for a government environmental study," James explained quietly after the meeting. "The mistake could delay critical research." Emma's hands trembled. She thought about her journey from Cornwall, about the opportunity she had been given. One mistake could send her back to unemployment, back to struggling with her mother, back to a life with no hope. But James saw something different. While other researchers seemed frustrated, he noticed Emma's genuine distress. Her eyes showed real concern, not just fear of losing her job. She wasn't trying to make excuses. She wanted to understand and fix her mistake. "Walk me through what happened," he said, sitting beside her. Emma explained everything carefully. She described how the documents looked similar, how she had been rushing to complete her tasks, how she hadn't fully understood the complexity of the research. To her surprise, James listened. Really listened. Not with anger, but with genuine interest in understanding the root of the problem. "We can fix this," he said finally, "but you need to learn more about our work." Over the next weeks, James became more than just a supervisor. He became a mentor. He started teaching Emma about research methods, about understanding scientific documents, about the importance of careful work. Emma worked harder than ever. She arrived early, stayed late. She borrowed scientific books from the Institute's library, studied during lunch breaks, asked questions whenever she could. Her curiosity became her greatest strength. The other researchers started noticing. Her dedication was different from typical new assistants. She wasn't just working, she was learning, growing, transforming herself. Her mother's lessons about hard work echoed in everything she did. "Nothing worth having comes easy," Margaret would always say. Emma lived those words every single day. Her breakthrough came unexpectedly. During a complex environmental research project, Emma's unique perspective, born from her working-class background and natural curiosity, helped solve a problem that had stumped the senior researchers. She noticed a pattern in the data that others had missed. Her fresh eyes, combined with her newfound knowledge, provided a unique insight. The research team was impressed. James called her into his office one afternoon. "You're not just an assistant anymore," he said. "You're becoming a valuable researcher." Those words meant everything. They represented more than a job promotion. They represented hope, transformation, the possibility of changing her entire life's trajectory. Emma thought about her journey. From a small coastal town, struggling with poverty, to a research institute in London. Each challenge had been a stepping stone. Each mistake had been a learning opportunity. That evening, she wrote to her mother. Her letter was filled with hope, with excitement, with the understanding that hard work and curiosity could truly change everything. The city lights of London seemed brighter. The research institute no longer felt like a scary, unknown place. It felt like home. Her journey was just beginning. The endnote. The story maintains simple language, focuses on Emma's personal growth, and highlights themes of perseverance, learning, and transformation. It provides an inspiring narrative about overcoming challenges through dedication and curiosity. The research project arrived like a thunderstorm, unexpected and powerful. Emma had been working for 8 months at the Institute, slowly building her confidence and skills. This particular environmental study would change everything she knew about scientific research. Climate change data from multiple regions needed complex analysis. Most senior researchers approached the problem with traditional methods, but Emma saw something different, a pattern hidden between the numbers that others missed. Her background in understanding survival, learned from years of struggling with poverty, gave her a unique perspective. Where others saw complicated graphs, Emma saw human stories. Where researchers saw numbers, she saw lives affected by environmental changes. During a team meeting, Emma hesitated before speaking. Her hands were sweaty, her heart racing. The room was filled with brilliant minds, professors, doctors, researchers with years of experience. She was just a girl from Cornwall, an assistant who had barely finished basic education. "What if we look at the data differently?" she said quietly. The room went silent. James Peterson looked up, his eyes showing interest. He had been watching Emma's progress, seeing her transformation from a nervous assistant to a curious researcher. Emma explained her theory. She suggested a new approach to analyzing environmental data, combining statistical methods with real-world community observations. Her idea was simple but revolutionary. The senior researchers initially looked skeptical. Complex scientific work wasn't supposed to come from someone like her, a working-class girl with no formal scientific training. But James saw something special in her approach. "Show us," he said simply. Over the next few weeks, Emma worked harder than ever. She stayed late, studied additional research materials, spoke with local community representatives from different regions. Her approach was different. She didn't just want numbers, she wanted understanding. Her mother's lessons echoed in her work. "Always look deeper," Margaret would say. "The first answer is never the real answer." Emma lived those words in her research. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. Her unique approach revealed critical information about environmental changes that traditional methods had missed. The research team was stunned. James recommended her for a special research grant. The opportunity seemed impossible. A girl from a small coastal town now potentially becoming a recognized researcher. Her entire world was changing. The day the grant was announced, Emma called her mother. Her voice shook with excitement. "I did it," she said. "I actually did it." Margaret's voice was filled with pride. "I always knew you could," she responded. Emma's journey represented more than personal success. It was a story of breaking barriers, of proving that background doesn't determine potential. She had transformed from a struggling assistant to a promising researcher. The Research Institute felt different now, no longer a scary, unknown place, but a world of possibility. Her colleagues looked at her differently, with respect, with genuine interest in her unique perspective. Her first official research paper was published 3 months later. Her name, Emma Thompson, appeared as a contributing researcher. A dream that seemed impossible just a year ago was now reality. London, once a scary and unknown city, now felt like home. The busy streets, the Research Institute, the complex world of scientific discovery, all of these were part of her new life. Emma thought about her journey, from a small cottage in Cornwall to a research institute in London, from struggling with poverty to contributing to important environmental research. Each challenge had been a stepping stone. Her story was just beginning. But already, she had proven something important, that curiosity, hard work, and believing in yourself could change everything. The city lights seemed brighter. Her future seemed limitless. The end. Note: the story maintains simple language, focuses on Emma's professional growth, and highlights themes of perseverance, innovation, and breaking social barriers. It provides an inspiring narrative about transforming challenges into opportunities through dedication and unique perspective. 10 years had passed since Emma first arrived in London. The nervous girl from Cornwall was now a respected environmental researcher, her name known in scientific circles across the country. The conference hall buzzed with excitement. Researchers from around the world had gathered to discuss critical environmental challenges. Emma stood at the podium, her hands steady, her voice clear and confident. She remembered her first days at the Research Institute, scared, unsure, feeling like an outsider. Now, she was presenting groundbreaking research that could change how the world understood environmental protection. Her mother, Margaret, sat in the front row. Now in her 70s, she watched her daughter with tears of pride. The journey had been long and difficult, but every struggle had been worth it. Emma's research focused on community-based environmental solutions. She had developed a unique approach that combined scientific data with local community experiences. Her work showed how small communities could make significant environmental impacts. "We're not just collecting numbers," Emma told the audience. "We're telling human stories. Every graph represents real people, real lives, real challenges." Her presentation was different from typical scientific talks. She shared stories of fishing communities in Cornwall, of small villages adapting to climate changes, of people fighting to protect their environments. Numbers became human experiences. The audience was captivated. Senior researchers who once looked down on her now listened with respect. Her unique perspective had become her greatest strength. After the presentation, journalists surrounded her. Questions flew about her research, her background, her journey. Emma remained humble, always redirecting conversations to the important work being done by communities. James Peterson, now a senior director at the Research Institute, watched from the side. He remembered the nervous assistant who had arrived years ago. Now she was changing the way scientific research was conducted. During a break, Margaret approached her daughter. No grand speeches, just a tight hug that spoke volumes. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. Emma's journey represented more than personal success. She had become a symbol of hope for working-class young people. Her story showed that background didn't determine potential. Curiosity, hard work, and belief could change everything. That evening, a special award ceremony recognized her contributions. Emma received an environmental research grant, one of the most prestigious in the country. Her hands trembled slightly as she accepted the award. She thought about her journey, from a small cottage in Cornwall to this moment, from struggling with poverty to presenting research that could change the world. Each challenge had been a stepping stone. The research wasn't just about numbers, it was about hope, about showing that ordinary people could make extraordinary differences. Her colleagues surrounded her, congratulating her. But Emma's thoughts went back to her mother, to her small coastal town, to the journey that had brought her here. "This isn't just my achievement," she told the crowd. "This is for every young person who has been told they're not good enough. This is for those who dare to dream." The conference hall erupted in applause, but for Emma, the real victory was much simpler. She had stayed true to herself. She had used her unique perspective to make a difference. As the evening ended, she called her mother. "I did it," she said, just like she had 10 years ago, but this time her voice was different, stronger, more confident. Margaret's response was the same as always. "I always knew you could." The city lights of London sparkled outside. Emma's future stretched before her, full of possibility, full of hope. Her journey was proof that with curiosity, hard work, and belief, anything was possible. The end note. The story maintains simple language, focuses on Emma's complete transformation, and highlights themes of perseverance, hope, and breaking social barriers. It provides an inspiring narrative about turning challenges into opportunities and making a meaningful difference in the world. Note: the story is written in simple, accessible English, focusing on Emma's emotional journey and the transformative power of opportunity. It uses descriptive but straightforward language, making it suitable for a wide audience and easy audiobook narration.